Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex, aka Ali B, aka boy, from Southlight Media in Cape Town, South Africa. And in today's video, I wanted to give you my 5 tips. It's quite general, I guess, 5 tips for shooting real estate photography, especially as a beginner. So let's get into the intro. So if you, like me, are, if you're looking to get into real estate photography, and like I was when I got started, I was on quite a budget. I had no idea what I was doing. I had shot a lot of other stuff, but I'd never shot interior photography to this extent. And you're trying to figure out, like, where do I start? You know, what do I need to know going into this? Like, what's the minimum that I need to know in order for me to produce the maximum quality that I can produce with what I have? Well, yeah, I just put a quick 5 tips together for you. They're on my phone, so I'm going to be looking down a bit because, as I said before, my memory is horrendous. But tip number 1 is clear clutter. Wow, that's hard to say. You try to say that 5 times. Clear clutter. Put all the lights on and open them curtains. If you open one curtain in a room, open the rest of them. If you open a blind, if you half open one of the blinds, half open the others. Like, you need to have that asymmetry or that symmetry, whatever the correct word is, but you want that continuity through. So like, if you shoot one room and you open the curtains and you go to the next room and your curtain's closed, that's not going to work. So yeah, put all your lights on, open all the blinds, windows, curtains, whatever you can, and clear as much clutter as possible. And when I say clutter, I mean toothbrushes, toilet spray, like bug spray, stuff like that. Like, if you have plates in the sink, clear it up. Do as much as you can. Now, obviously, in a lot of, you know, the bigger, more expensive houses, you'll have agents who will do all of that already, or you'll have show houses that are pre-staged. In South Africa, where I shoot, we don't have that. So more often than not, I rock up someone's house and their washing's still on the line, and I find myself like trying to figure out what to do with all this washing and where to put all the nonsense, and there's bins everywhere. So it's a bit of a dog. But yeah, tip number 1, clear clutter, put the lights on, and yeah, just open curtains. Tip number 2, get the appropriate gear. So now, while I'm not saying that you need to have the best gear, especially to get started, you might not need to have a full frame. Like, I'm using a Fujifilm XF, which is a crop. I have a Nikon D810 full frame, but I don't use it. So you don't have to have all the art lenses, but you do have to have appropriate gear. When I'm saying that, I mean you need to have a camera where you can at least adjust the screen and flip it and tilt it, so when your camera is back against the wall, you can see that everything is right. You need to have at least a 16mm lens. I think like 16mm is the minimum width the minimum maximum width, if that makes sense. Like, you can get away with shooting 16mm. If you work for an agency that likes detail shots, the agency I work for don't, then get yourself a nice prime, get yourself a 50mm or like an 85mm. 50mm Nifty 50 is the best, especially if you're getting started, because it's super affordable. And then obviously you want to have a 24-105 or an 18-65 or whatever it is on your camera system. Tip number 3, use your grid lines and your tripod, but your grid lines to get them verticals. You don't vertical vertigos. What on earth am I saying? What that means is, when you're looking at a room, I'll put pictures up, by the way, but when you're looking at a room, basically you want your lines to be straight all the way from top to bottom. If you have lines warping and stuff like that, sometimes the house doesn't look structurally sound, it doesn't look great, and especially if you're shooting on lower end gear, you're already going to have a little bit of warping, so you want to try and avoid as much of that as possible. So yeah, get them lines nice and straight. Tip number 4, settings. You will be tempted, trust me, you'll be tempted in a dark house to shoot like f2 if you have it, or f4 as wide as possible. I never go wider than f5.6, especially in a wide shot. Obviously when I'm doing detail stuff like that, I mean I don't mind going down to an f1.8. But for general room shots, like, it's one of the few industries where you actually want pretty much everything to be in focus. So I shoot on average f6 or f8, sorry, what am I saying? f8 to f11, depending on the light. And then obviously ISO wise, you never really want to go over 800 ISO. I am so dumb in this video. You never want to go over 800 ISO on, especially on a crop camera. I find myself like probably 640 to 800, like the bulk of a shoot. And that kind of takes me into the next tip, is tip 5, bracketing. So you don't actually have to run around using a flash, taking like 18 shots with a flash. While that is nice, it is very time consuming. I personally don't use a flash. I've used a flash a few times, I've got some nice flambience, but it's not my thing. So I must admit, I did want to talk about like shot angles and stuff like that, but I think that's a video in itself. That's going to be way too long if I had to talk about all that now. But yeah, let's talk about bracketing / HDR stuff. So essentially what I do, like I said, I don't shoot with flash. I will set my camera up on an AE bracket, which will then take 5 shots, and then you can set your minimum and your maximum exposure, like -3 stops or whatever. Generally, I'm fidgeting. Generally, what happens is, I think the easiest way to explain it, and I'll put like 5 shot references, is when you shoot a 5 shot bracket, you basically go from way underexposed to way overexposed, and then in Lightroom you will blend it all together in an HDR blend, and then you can, you know, brush in more darkness, brush in more lightness, whatever you want to do, but essentially you have them beautiful, you know, outside exposures, inside exposures, and everything just pops, and it's like wow, and it's just fantastic. So HDR bracketing, it actually is the way to go. And then with that being said, I also always shoot on a 2-second timer, and then so yeah, because I don't use a trigger, because it's just an extra 2 batteries to have charged and ready. And like when you're shooting 3-4 houses a day, which is what I do on average, I shoot a lot of houses most days, or I have time constraints, like it's just too much of a mission to have extra batteries to change. So yeah, that is my really quick 5 tips for kind of, you know, shooting your first house, if you will. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask them down in the comments. Commencements in the comments, and I will do my best to answer them over there. And then yeah, stay tuned, the next video will be out in the next couple of days, just talking about maybe my 5 go-to shots. So I'll talk about like shot lists, I'll talk about how many shots you want to be getting of each room, you know, what your premium rooms are, and kind of how you can go about, you know, finding and building your style while still conforming to what most agencies will look for. I hope this video helped you in some way, and please, if you can, like, comment, and subscribe, unless you're going to comment something nasty. Actually, well, you can come at me in the comments, that's fine. We are here, we do what we need to do. But see you guys in the next video. Bye. I see you.